Now, Revit architecture is driven by families, whether they be system families or component families. So we've got a new Revit project open. Now, in the Revit project parameters file, I'm in the north elevation here. So make sure you go into elevations in the project browser and go to the north elevation. And it's a basic, simple wall. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring a family into that wall. So we're going to go up here to the architecture tab, and you can see that we've got doors and windows. Now, doors and windows can be brought in as hosted elements or hosted families. So the wall itself is the host element. So this wall here, if I select that wall, that is the host element, and it hosts the windows and the doors. So let's go and place a window. So I'm going to go up to window, click there, and you can see I've got a single plain window there, like so. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the edit type before I place it. And you'll notice that this particular window is 630 by 1050 millimeters deep. If I click on the down arrow there, you can see that I've also got a 1200 as well. And this allows me to work with different family parameters, which I'll explain in a moment. I'm just going to cancel that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the window into the wall itself. So I'm just going to pop that there on the left-hand side of the wall. Now I'm going to hit escape. I'm going to zoom in nice and close on the window now. So if I hover over this window now, it tells me it's the 630 by 1050 millimeter deep window. If I select that there, I can now go into here, and you'll notice if I select the 1200, watch what happens to the window. And you'll see that that gets higher. It's a higher window now. It's now 1200 deep. So I hit escape to deselect it again. Now what happens if I need to work with family parameters and create a different sized window? Well, it's very, very easy to do. You use your type parameters dialog box. So I'm going to select the window again, like so. And remember, I went to edit type. So I'm going to go to edit type now, like so. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate. So I'm going to duplicate the 630 by 1200, which is there. Now, using a bit of editing, now this is just the name of the family type. So you're not changing any parameters at this point. So instead of 1200, I want a really tall, thin window that is going to be 1500 deep. So I click on OK. So notice, can you see there, the type name changes. But I now need to change the rough height and the height here in the parameters. So there's the 1200 there. Change that to 1500. And there's the height there. Notice that updates as soon as I click in. Now just check all your other parameters. They all look okay. So if I click on OK now, notice I get a really tall, high window that is the 630 by 1500 millimeters. And that's how you mess around with family parameters in your type parameters dialog box. And you can do this with any Revit family. Doors, windows, chairs, desks, furniture, TV screens, anything that you bring in, any component family that you bring into Revit, you can mess around with the family parameters. The one thing I will say though is always duplicate. So always when you go to edit type, to edit to the parameters, always duplicate first and create a new family type in that family. Otherwise you'll overwrite the existing one and then you've got to go back and recreate it again. So make sure that when you're using your parameters, you duplicate, and also more importantly, you type the name properly, and remember it's only the name in that dialog box. You have to go and edit the parameters in the type parameters dialog box as well. So let's go and create a new door family. It's going to be very simple, just like a box that is the shape of a door, and we're going to insert that into our Revit project. So I go up to the application menu here, and I hover over new, and I say that I want to create a family, a Revit family. And the good thing is there's a whole load of family templates already set up in Revit architecture. So these are all metric because I'm using the UK version of Revit architecture right now. Go on open like so. So that loads up quite happily like that. Now what I will do is I'll make sure that the metric door template is available to you. So you'll notice now we're in the family editor. You'll notice the ribbon is subtly different. Similar style, but different commands. And you'll notice at the top there it says family 4, and we're in the floor plan. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do a save as. So I'm going to go up here to the application menu, save as, and it's obviously going to be a family. And you can see I've already got a door one in there. I'm going to overwrite that and save like so. Do I want to replace it? Yes, I do. Now you can call it door 1, you can call it door whatever you like really. I've just called it door 1 because it's nice and easy to type. So you can see at the top now we have door 1 RFA, and RFA is a Revit family. And at the moment we're in the reference level floor plan. What we're going to do is we're going to zoom in on the opening, which is here. Now the good thing about these templates, it tells you which is the exterior side and the interior side. Gives you some parameters to work with as well. So I'm going to zoom in there and you can see the gap that is there for the door. Can you see the wall there? There's the wall highlighting. There's the gap here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a rectangle that forms my door. Now the rectangle will be an extrusion. We are working in 3D. So I go up to the Create tab on the ribbon in the Family Editor, and in the Forms here I select Extrusion. Now it goes into sketch mode. So you can see the green tick and the red cross here. I'm going to use the rectangle command in the draw panel there. And I'm just going to use my snaps. I'm just going to literally place a very boring rectangle like that. Now, it's asking for a depth up here on the options bar of 250. Make that 1000. Just for argument's sake, we'll tweak all the height of the door in a minute. But this depth gives you the height of the door in the opening. So I'll press enter for that. And what I'll do now is I'll click on the green tick and my extrusion now fills that door opening. So if I now go to one of the elevations, let's go to the exterior elevation. I'll double click on it there. And you can see the door there is highlighted because I still have it selected. Zoom in a bit and just click and drag that door up on the little grip there until it gets to the top of the door opening. And there's our door in place like so. Now, when you're working in your families, you can obviously specify material. So if I click here in the properties, I can select something like default roof, default wall, glass or something. I'm going to go for a glass door like so. And that will go a nice blue color when I'm using the shaded visual style in my Revit project when I bring this in. So I'll okay that like so. So I've got a nice glass door there now. What we need to do is we need to save our family. So we can go up to the application menu here and just click on save like that. That saves all the details that we've put in. Or I can just hit save here on the quick access toolbar. That will do the same thing. Now, the one thing you'll notice at the end of each of these tabs, can you see you've got a load into project? Now, if I go to view here and I look at the switch windows here, you'll see that I've still got my project open. There's my RVT there. So I can go back to the project at any time. The one that's ticked at the moment is our exterior elevation of our door 1 RFA. So what I do now is I'm going to load this into the project. Click like so. And it's loaded into the project. Can you see my door 1 there in the properties? There it is. And if I bring that down into the wall, I'll just place it centrally in the wall and I'm going to click like that. So my door has gone into my wall. I'm going to hit escape now just to deselect the wall. I'm going to jump into the north elevation now of my Revit project. And there's my glass door. If I click on that, it tells me it's door 1. And as you can see, I've placed a door now in my wall with a family that I've created set up using my parameters. Now the family editor is still open. So if I go to view now, like so, and I go to switch windows, I can now jump back into that exterior elevation of door 1, click on it like so, and there it is there. So there's my door there. Now obviously we've got some parameters there. You'll see we've got a height parameter of 2000. And if I come out a bit more, you can see there that we've got some other parameters as well. So if I go to my floor reference level, you can see we've got a width there as well. Now I can change these parameters quite happily in my family by clicking on this icon here. So family types like so. If I bring the family types dialog into the center there, you can see that there's my height and width. Now if I want to add a new family type to door 1, I can give it a name. So this one is a 1000 by 2000 door. So what I'll do is I'll put in there 1000 millimeters by 2000 millimeters like so. So that's my first family type in there like that. So that's in there. There it is there. What I can do now is I can create a new one. But what I'll do is I'll change the parameters. I'll change the width slightly to 1250 like so. And I'll click on new. And I can now add a 1250 millimeters by 2000 millimeters as well. So if I OK those now, those are my 2 new types that I've added. So I'll apply that and I'll OK that. And I'll save those changes, those parameter changes. And then what I'll do now is I'll load that into the project again, and it will say, do I want to overwrite the existing version as parameter values? Yes, please. And now, when I go to that elevation again, my north elevation in my Revit project, and select it like so, if I click on the down arrow, you'll see that I've got the 1000 by 2000 and the 1250. So I can make that door wider by adding extra parameter values to my Revit family, my door 1 Revit family. And that's how you work with families and develop families in Revit architecture. And I'm in the level 0 floor plan right now. Now we can rename these floor plans and we can also duplicate them as well. So this one's got furniture in it and room names. I might want one without furniture and room names so that I can perhaps start dimensioning up the building ready for construction. So let's have a look at renaming and duplicating. So I'm going to right click on level 0, going to rename that as 00-GND for ground, like I did in the previous video, and I'll hit OK there. Would I like to rename the corresponding levels and views? Yes, I would. So that will all rename. You'll notice in the ceiling plans now it's renamed the ceiling plan. I'll do the same with the level 1 as well. I'll right click on that and rename it, and that will become 01-roof, like we did in the previous videos. So I'll just do that there, rename, yes. So that's all done. Now, I might need to duplicate these. So at the moment, the ground floor view that I'm in is my furniture view. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to right click and I'm going to duplicate that view, and I can duplicate it in 3 ways. I can duplicate it without the detailing, I can duplicate it with the detailing, I can duplicate it as a dependent. Now, if you were setting up dependent views, that's almost like a family group of views. So you might have a very, very large building with a right wing, an east wing, a north wing, a south wing, an atrium, and so on. You can set up loads of duplicate views for the same building, and they're all dependent on the same model. I'm going to duplicate though with detailing, like so. And that creates a copy of 00 ground. Now what I'm going to do is the copy, I'm going to right click and I'm going to rename it as 00 ground dims, because that's going to be my dimension plan. Now you could, if you wanted to, put the whole thing in there like that if you want. Be aware though that the longer the views are, the view names I should say, they obviously have to go into bubbles and things on detail views and call out views as well. So just be aware of that. I try and keep them short and sweet. So that to me would be 00 ground and then dim like that for dimensions. Then I would okay that. So there's my 00 ground dimensions. And then this one, I would right click again and also rename. And that one might be my GA, general arrangement plan. There we go. And I'll rename the corresponding level of views. Yes, please. So now I've got a 00 ground GA and a 00 ground GA for both floor plan and ceiling plan. Now we're in our 00 ground dimension view there, and we've renamed it and we've duplicated it. Now what we might do there is we might remove the bits that we don't need. So the furniture, for example, click on one piece of furniture, right click, and we'll hide that in the view. That's just at the top there. You should be able to see that. And I'm going to do that by category. So I'm going to hide all of my furniture by category. Now the tags as well, I might want the tags to go, so I'll right click there and again hide in view. Now what I'm going to do there, I'm just going to hit escape and I'm going to come down here and use this tag instead. It's a lot easier to see, and then hide in view, and I'm going to do category, so they'll go as well. Now, do I need the room names? I would probably keep those, but what I might do now, as this is my dimension plan, is I might start dimensioning. So I'll go to annotate and just add a few dimensions there. So I'll go from, say, that wall, I get the edge of that wall there, or the center of that wall, and just come across to the center of that wall, and I'll just place my dimension there like so. So that's my dimension plan. Now you'll notice if I go back to the GA where I've duplicated it, I've still got all the furniture, still got all the tags. And the whole idea is you duplicate these views to allow you to show different detail in your Revit architecture projects. Once you've done that, you'll notice we're in level 0 right now in the floor plans. Come down to your schedules and quantities in your project browser, and we're going to go into Furniture Schedule 1. Just double click on it and it'll open up the schedule quite happily. Now, if you haven't already created a Furniture Schedule 1, you can go and create one. In this case, it's already loaded into the project. If you want to edit your schedule, you go into the Properties palette and hit one of these edit buttons here. So I'm going to edit the fields first, and this will bring up the Fields tab in the Schedule Properties. So at the moment, we've got the family and type of furniture, the mark of the furniture, which is a number assigned to each individual item, and the count, i.e. how many. What we can do here is we can add things like manufacturer, model, the phase created, the phase demolished, the type, and so on. I'm going to actually add something like up here, the assembly description or the assembly name. You can also add just a comments field as well. It's entirely up to you what you want to add. Something else you might want to add is level. Now the level is the floor where each of them are. So I'm going to add level to this here and add that across. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just OK that, and you'll see that they're now all at level 0, which is there. So here's the best bit. If I change that level 0 and rename it now to 00 ground, like I have done in previous videos, if I click on OK now and rename the corresponding level and views, it renames the level in the schedule as well, which is great. Now, I may want to actually sort this in a different way. I'm sorting it by family and type at the moment. I might want to sort it by level. So if I come down here now and click on the buttons again where I want to edit it. So if I click back in the schedule area and then come back to fields, and I can click on any of these, sorting or grouping, and you can see there that sorting or grouping comes up. Doesn't matter which edit button you click on because you can click on the tabs in the dialog box like so. So I'm in sorting and grouping, and family and type is what I'm being sorting by. I'm going to change that to level, and I'm going to OK it. So now it's sorting everything by level, and it's just telling me that there's 8 bits of furniture, and that's it. So there's 8 bits of furniture on the ground level. Now what I need to do is go into the sorting and grouping again, and I need to itemize every instance, and then it gives me the grand total and each instance on that level of that particular piece of furniture. Now what I could do is I could put by level and then by family and type. If I do that and OK it, you'll see it changes the view of the schedule completely. And that's really useful because it's sorting by level and then family and type. So if I now go back to fields here and edit those, I'll move level all the way up to the top, like so. And that means that'll be the leftmost column now. So when I click there, it's telling me what level they're on, and there's the family and type. So I can sort it and I can organize it in many different ways. And that's one of the major benefits of the schedules in Revit architecture. Now, something else you can do in those fields, by the way, is I can actually go in and I can change the formatting. So I can come in here and change the formatting of each of the fields that I'm using. So they can either be horizontal, they can be left, middle, center. If I center them, they'll all be centered in their boxes on the actual schedule itself. So if I OK that, can you see they're now all centered, like so? The numbered ones and the family and type won't be, but as you can see, it's centered the 00 ground ones. These have stayed left because they are working in a slightly different way. But if I come back here and then come back here to sorting and grouping and formatting, if I go to family and type, notice that's still left. That's the different way I was talking about. You have to do it for each individual one, like so. So if I set all of those to center, make sure family and type is also set to center, and then OK it. See, each one works in its own individual separate way. Now that actually looks a lot nicer, and if I brought that into a sheet, it would look quite nice on a sheet in Revit as well. One more thing to look at though, especially in those fields where we're looking at the formatting and the appearance. I can have a hidden field. So what I might do here now is I might go to mark, the actual mark number, of which there aren't any in the column at the moment, but I can say that's a hidden field and OK. It hides it from the view, but when I go into fields here, it still exists. Now the reason being is I might be sucking that data out into a database, and I don't need to show the mark numbers actually on the sheet itself, but they might need to be sucked out into a database at a later date perhaps. So that's why you can hide fields as well. So I'll just OK that now. So that's now a hidden field. As you can see, it's not showing. If I go back to fields though, and come back here into formatting, and I select mark, and I bring it back, and untick the hidden field like that, it comes back in as a column again. Last but not least, appearance. This is all your fonts and things like your title text, your header text. They're all coming in as schedule default at the moment. I might say that the title text is 7mm Arial, header text 5mm Arial, body text 3.5mm Arial. OK, that, and can you see it all updates there? And when I bring that into a sheet in Revit, it will obviously appear with all those particular fonts and heights of text. So that's how you can organize and tidy up your fields and your columns and your text in your schedules in Revit architecture.